1. Ronnie O'Neill, a father's betrayal and a family's ruin. In the small, unassuming community of Riverview, Florida, a quiet night in March turned into a nightmare that defied belief. Ronnie O'Neill, a 29-year-old man who neighbors described as ordinary, revealed a monstrous capacity for violence. That evening, he fatally shot his girlfriend, Kenyatta Barron, in cold blood. But the horror did not end there. O'Neill brutally struck his 9-year-old daughter with a hatchet until her young life was extinguished. His 8-year-old son became his next target, stabbed repeatedly before being left to die as O'Neill poured gasoline throughout the house and set it ablaze. Somehow, the boy survived, crawling from the burning home, critically injured but alive. His father, fleeing the scene, was quickly apprehended. At the trial, a shocking twist captured national attention. O'Neill insisted on defending himself. His chilling cross-examination of his son, who calmly recounted the harrowing details of the night, left the courtroom in stunned silence. "Did I hurt you that night?" O'Neill asked. "Yes," the boy replied, his voice unwavering. "You stabbed me." Even as the evidence mounted, O'Neill remained defiant. He accused the prosecution of fabricating evidence and declared, "I am not sorry for something I didn't do. And I am not sorry for the things I did do." His lack of remorse was striking, even in the face of the judge's words. "This is the worst case I've ever seen in my career. Ever." O'Neill was sentenced to 3 life terms, plus 90 years without parole. His son, now adopted by the detective who saved him that night, has begun to rebuild his life. But the shadow of that night, a father's unimaginable betrayal, will likely haunt him forever. 2. Randall Moore, obsession fueled by revenge. Therese Ann Lynch lived in fear of her estranged husband, Randall Moore. After filing for a protective order and attempting to rebuild her life without him, Lynch could not have anticipated the depths of his obsession. On a quiet evening, Moore kidnapped Lynch, exacting a cruel vengeance that ended in her death. But Moore's wrath didn't stop there. When Officer Todd Rowland responded to the desperate cries from the apartment, Moore ambushed him, shooting the officer in the hand. Bleeding but alive, Rowland radioed for backup while Moore barricaded himself with his estranged wife's lifeless body. In a chilling 911 call, Moore rationalized his actions with cold detachment. "I didn't want to do any of this. All I wanted was to see my son." The trial revealed the depths of Moore's resentment. Lynch's mother, trembling with grief, delivered a scathing statement in court. "You took everything from us. My daughter hated you. You were nothing but a monster in her life." Moore showed no remorse, stating plainly, "I have not 1 ounce of regret. All of this could have been avoided if they had just let me see my child." The judge, visibly disgusted, responded with measured fury. "If anyone doubted what kind of person you were before today, they know now. The law doesn't allow me to punish you more than I already have, but if it did, I would." Moore received 3 life sentences and an additional 25 years for attempted murder. His son, now growing up without either parent, will carry the scars of a tragedy driven by one man's twisted sense of justice. 3. Keith Ferguson, a father's twisted love. Keith Ferguson, a man whose love for his children was supposed to protect them, instead shattered their world. A marital argument with his wife, Tiffany, escalated into deadly violence. He beat and shot her in front of their 4 children before murdering her father. Ferguson's escape turned into a hostage situation, but he eventually surrendered after a 7-hour standoff. In court, his demeanor was chillingly detached. When asked about his children, he said he no longer wished to see or speak to them. Tiffany's best friend delivered a haunting statement. She always believed he wouldn't hurt her because he loved their kids. But that love meant nothing. He killed her anyway. The judge's words reflected the courtroom's collective disbelief. You may not meet the clinical definition of insanity, but there is something deeply broken in you. Ferguson now serves a life sentence without parole, leaving his children to grapple with the weight of his actions. 4. Michael Swanson, a killer's quest for power. Michael Swanson was just 17 when he terrorized 2 small Iowa towns in a single night. In the span of an hour, he murdered 2 gas station attendants, both of whom complied fully with his demands for cash and cigarettes. But compliance wasn't enough for Swanson. His real goal, as he later admitted, was simple: to feel powerful. His first victim, 47-year-old Vicky Bowman Hall, handed over everything he asked for. Swanson shot her in the face anyway. An hour later, he repeated the same act, killing 61-year-old Sheila Myers, arrested 60 miles away. Swanson showed no remorse. In court, he described his actions with unsettling detachment. When I pulled the trigger, I felt powerful. That's why I did it. The daughter of one victim, trembling with grief and rage, asked him directly, "Are you sorry? Do you even understand what you've done to my family?" Swanson smirked but offered no reply. The judge, visibly shaken, delivered his sentence with grim finality. Cold-blooded murder. That's what this was. You will spend the rest of your life behind bars. Swanson received 2 life sentences. But his capacity for violence did not end there. For years into his incarceration, he slit another inmate's throat, cementing his legacy as a remorseless killer who thrives on chaos.